Monica Cox is a top holistic functional fertility coach and solver of fertility issues. Using the combination of functional diagnostic nutrition and subconscious empowerment, she supports women in finding the root cause of their fertility issues to become the conscious mama they were born to be. She dealt with years of unexplained infertility, failed IVFs, and survived several miscarriages before becoming an IVF mom and getting pregnant naturally, even though the doctor said there was nothing she could do to improve her situation. Monica and I get into the details of it all today, and you are in for a treat. Enjoy.
How is that you utilize
Yep.
testing? What do you have women test for if they're coming in for fertility?
Yeah. So, food intolerances is a big one
Sure.
because it just takes that guesswork out. I believe that most food intolerances are energetic, anyways, but
Hmm.
it's a really big step to say to someone, you're intolerant to a tomato, and that's because of your father's BS, right? And moving through that. So
And
it's
that's the highlight
it's
of the show, folks.
yeah. It's a process, right? So I
Yeah.
always
Oh,
meet people
cool.
where they're at. And we're talking about time here, right? Sometimes it takes a while to move that energy. So to know
How
that you're
cool.
intolerant
I've
to it, yeah.
I've never been introduced to that concept. I think that's really neat.
Yeah. So for time's sake, find your food intolerances. Utilizing a high quality food sensitivity test does it like
Yeah.
that. It's worth the investment.
Yep.
When my clients do that and they get off, like I've had asparagus, meat, blueberries, like just random crap, right? There's always the top 5 food intolerances.
Yeah.
Um, but some people have to go deeper. They see results within weeks because that inflammation is gone and your body doesn't have to deal with it. So
Cool.
getting a high quality food sensitivity test. Now, during that process, if you're willing to even believe, or not even to believe, I don't even think you have to believe in this. If you're willing to do it and do the process of discovering the stuck emotion tied to that food intolerance, then that's a process of undoing that. And eventually, and I only got into this because I was highly intolerant to nightshades. Like that was like the last thing I found on my food journey, right? I got rid of gluten, I got rid of all that stuff, but nightshades were my big thing. So I was
Hmm.
AIP-ish, my version of that for almost 10 years. And I was over it. Like I was like, there's no way I have to live this way my whole life. We're talking about foods that are healthy,
Yeah.
right? We're not talking about McDonald's or over processed stuff.
Right.
I'm talking like I missed salsa. And so getting into the energetic stuff anyways, and just being open to like that this is a possibility. I just started doing, because I'm Psych-K trained, and there's a really good book you can do for yourself um, called The Emotion Code and the Body Code. And you just ask your body, and you're using muscle testing and you're using your intuition, and these layers just keep coming up and coming up. Um, and so the last training I did with Psych-K just a few weeks ago, it was all health and wellness, and it's just digging into that emotional connection with those foods. And it was interesting because I had cleared the stuff for myself already, but I found myself when I went to go eat tomatoes, my whole body was tensing up. Like I could feel the fear coming up.
Hmm.
And so what came up in a session was that it was all tied to my infertility still.
Hmm.
Because when I found out
Interesting.
that I had that food intolerance was after my first miscarriage. So I used immune suppressing drugs, and because I was simultaneously going through this, I found the autoimmune paleo diet. I knew I had gut issues. I knew I had NK cells, so I was like, I'm going to try this out. I got off the nightshades, and I had one little symptom that I didn't think was a really big deal because I had improved so much already. That symptom went away in 3 weeks after cutting out nightshades.
Wow.
And so because I didn't have the guidance and the support, I put myself in a fear state that if I ate nightshades that I would miscarry.
Mm.
And so this last emotional release releasing that stress that I felt
Mhm.
um, around eating nightshades, because I did have it was a nightmare trying. I lived in the United Kingdom and trying to go to a restaurant and not have nightshades. So this,
Sure.
I'm not choking you. This burger came out and a piece of lettuce. And I was paying like 15 pounds, right? So like $20 for this burger, like this patty and lettuce. And I cut open the burger and I could tell there was paprika in it. And I asked and they said yes. But I was with like some people I didn't really know. I didn't want to make a scene. And so I ate it. And I was so scared that I was going to miscarry because I didn't have the knowledge that that's not how it works. If you have one nightshade, you'll miscarry. But I did get that symptom back. So I still knew I was intolerant to nightshades, but I was using immune suppressing drugs. And I think at that stage, I was actually very heavily pregnant. So it wouldn't have affected it anyways. But I had that stored trauma. I had that like stress in my body still around. So cleared that. So it's a multi-purpose layer. Sorry, we've gone off on a tangent now. But when you come to diet, using your intuition is hard because if you're not already practicing using your intuition for day-to-day life, sometimes when you eat something, your symptom doesn't show up for 3 days. That was mine, right? I would eat nightshades and it'd be like 3 days later, I'd have constipation and then diarrhea, right? So sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint things down. So when it comes to diet and using your intuition, I would say it would be a like when someone's like saying like juicing or keto or paleo or vegan or Mediterranean, if it is like you just tap into your body, if it's a full body no, like that does not resonate with me. That's not your diet. I would say when it comes to individual intolerances, you have to be willing to practice muscle testing, practice your intuition, because you can ask your body, is this safe for me to eat? And then if it's a no, or like, hey, when I eat dairy, I get messed up, that's when you want to start digging into the why. I do believe I was working with a woman actually who had like a specific gene, like her mom was a carrier, her dad was a carrier, it came together, and she cannot process fat in her body. Now, look, if we're down like near Jesus Christ and Buddha mode, do I think you can change that gene? Probably, but we're not. We're not there. So we have to deal with what we're dealing with, right? And I said to her, look, right now, what is that gene trying to tell you? And it came into control. She wanted to control her life, and she wanted to have the cakes, and she wanted to have all these things. And I said, what if you change your attitude and we change the perception that those things don't control you anymore and you don't have to control them? So she was British, actually. And I said, you just imagine yourself going into Betty's Tea Room. It's a very famous tea shop in York. And you walk in and you're not bothered that you can't eat the cake. You're not bothered that you can't have the cream. That doesn't control you. And you live your life through that. And having those, levels up in Mario, you're getting there. Now, are we all going to ascend to Buddha this lifetime? Probably not. But can we move through our lifetime with peace around something possibly that we can't change? I don't think in the level of awareness and consciousness, we can all have these radical changes where we're growing feet back and like changing genetics that we were born with. But can we switch on and off intolerances that are created from emotional state? Absolutely. Why do people all of a sudden, I had a manager once who all of a sudden had a dairy intolerance. She was fine with dairy all of her life, and then after the birth of her child, which was quite traumatic, and I just made this connection now, she couldn't eat dairy anymore. It's not because all of a sudden the universe was like, oh, I think it'd be fun to give you a dairy intolerance.
Yeah. And what did you say the 2 books were?
Sorry?
What did you say the 2 books were that explain that more in depth?
Oh, yeah. So it's by the same author. I think he's got a 3rd book out to the Emotion Code, but it's the Body Code, the Emotion Code, and something. It's something the code. I forget his name too. Sorry. I'm really bad with authors and books.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, it's basically like what it is, and all these modalities. All of the modalities out there, whether it's like the eye rapid movement thing, the emotional freedom tapping, Psych-K, the body code, maybe even hypnosis. I've never done hypnosis, so I can't like positively say. But what it is doing is it is getting you in alignment with your higher self, right? And higher self, and then you can go further with the superconscious God, whatever it is. And you are getting in tune and you are releasing the emotion. So the easiest book, I think, to start off with just even entering this zone of possibility is called Letting Go by Richard Dawkins. It is the best book I've read, and trust me, I've read over 100 of these books that can simply tell you the importance of letting these emotions go, right? Whether it's a stress related or like an actual emotion like anger or sadness or all that. It's very easy to do. And everyone has this innate ability, but because of the society we live in, it's so easy that you don't think it's going to work. Yeah. You're like, no, it's got to be hard. I got to go through years of therapy for this to work. Basically, it's going back to getting in tune and slowing down and not being so busy. When we were kids, what happened? I was told Wendy the whiner wasn't invited. Big girls don't cry. Stop crying. Stop crying. Right? So you learn to suppress your emotion and it stays there. Yeah. It doesn't leave your body. Right? And we all have to admit emotions are real. You feel them. You feel anger, you feel joy, you feel them in your body. And so the more you get in tune with your body, the more you're going to allow your emotions to come up and actually feel them. And so it does get a little bit like in Psych-K, when we're doing like a transformation, we will say, you might feel this more intensely before it goes away. When I used emotional freedom tapping, I had an incident that my practitioner, or the guy I was working with, he's like, you're at a level 10. I can't start tapping with you because you're going to go higher until we get you down to like a level 5. And then we can tap so you can get back up to a 10, release. And then, you bring in naturally, you don't have, this is not like, I'm going to bring in peace, right? Like you're not packing luggage. You're going to naturally feel the emotion you don't want anymore, leave, and the emotion you do want come in. So you have to be prepared to feel it and then release it. And Letting Go is an amazing book to like start tapping into it. Emotion Code is an amazing book to read and start practicing muscle testing in that. And yeah, the modalities like Psych-K and emotional or freedom tapping and all that are just great modalities for a coach to help you move through these processes. Because like I say, some people, I use coaches because I can't see my own BS. Like, you need support to call that out of you because your ego's never going to go away. Right? As much as people are like, I had an ego death. Well, absolutely not. The ego will always be there with you. It's going to keep you safe and protected. So any kind of change, your ego will come up. And that's why sometimes you just can't see the BS earlier rather than later too. Eventually you'll see it or feel it.
And we are sharing all of your links on this page today for anyone who wants to just delve in straight with you, and you can guide them through and coach them through exactly what you're talking about without reading a book on their own, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, my whole coaching now is empowerment. I really want you to come into my world for no more than a year. And that's a long time. Like I'd be happy with 6 months. I'm really about how you can do this for yourself. Yes, you might need some guidance through a book, through a course, maybe if you want the one-to-one. But when you leave my world, you are ready to do these things on your own, and you'll probably, need another seeker, another mentor that's in a different dimension than I am. But the truth is that we all have this in us. It's all a little bit different. And if I can, the baby for me is the cherry on top. I know that most people who come to work with me, that's their ultimate goal. And I'm never surprised when they get pregnant. It does not surprise me. What satisfies me and what my mission is to empower you to become that conscious mama that we need here on earth and for your children.